Welcome to Veteran Uncensored. This is a new video. President Trump admits that Israel has gone rogue and has taken action in the Middle East without the U.S. permission. Who is calling the shots, ladies and gentlemen? Who is in charge of this operation? We're going to get into what Joe Kent told Tucker Carlson and what he said about Israel possibly giving us intel, a biased intel, if you will, in order for us to make decisions. We saw that we bombed a little girl's school. Was that a decision or bad intel that we were given? Also, Glenn Beck speaks on this particular post by President Trump. But before that, if you like the videos, don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and help us reach more people that want unbiased opinion. Nowhere to the far right, no opinions to the from the far left, just central objective opinion. And I urge you, as usual, think. It's not illegal yet. Think, folks. I'm a conservative, Chris Rodriguez, veteran for the U.S. Army. And let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into it. And this is what happened here. Look, President Trump putting out this statement last night, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, of course, but it's right there in front of you. It says, Israel out of anger. The good thing about this is that this might make people believe or feel like, well, President Trump is not really agreeing with 100% everything that Israel are saying, right? So he goes and says this: out of anger, Israel, for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about it, nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. Well, first of all, what are you talking about? Unfairly and unjustified. Well, Israel attacked it. Iran is going to respond. Let's stop talking about fair or unfair. Listen, we want a regime change. We want the radical Islamists to be eradicated from this world. Of course we do. But let's stop talking about they attacked with no unjustified. I mean, Israel bombed them, so they're entitled. They're going to. I'm not siding with them, but they're going to attack. So, and that's what President Trump is upset about. To be honest, I don't think he's upset about the Iranians attacking back. He's upset at Israel for attacking them or attacking that part of the conflict without U.S. permission, basically going rogue. So we continue here. Right? And of course, they attacked Qatar as well. They didn't have anything to do with it at all. And that's the problem. Israel is not really paying attention. Like they don't care to see what the ramifications of their actions are or going to be, the consequences. So they need to leave the U.S. to do all the thinking, and you back us if we need your help. The U.S. needs to be in charge, not Israel. Anyway, let's finish this statement here. Unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel, in capital letters, pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field, unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar. In which instance, the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field in an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence, he says, and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? First of all, I understand he's got to be politically correct when he types. Well, you can tell this is a Donald Trump post, by the way, because you can see the grammar is not, is not great. But regardless, this would also affect us. If he blows everything up, it affects us tremendously, right? This has every condiment, and I trust President Trump. Even Joe Kent, yesterday speaking with Carlson, he trusts Donald Trump to make the right decisions, and that he is very much a guy in charge. But why is Israel going rogue? Why are they doing these things without permission? That's according to Donald Trump. So why are they making decisions that they shouldn't be? That makes no sense. Now, Grok, on their context thing, on their expose, this says right here, contrary to Trump's claim, and quote, the U.S. was informed of the plan ahead of time and had no issues with it, according to American and Israeli officials. President Trump approved of the strike, U.S. officials said, to pressure Iran to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. But why would Trump come out with this then, if this is all BS? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Why would he come out and basically, more or less, lie? For what? Is this all a scheme? I don't understand it. Now, what does somebody like, let's just say, Glenn Beck have to say about this whole situation? Because it might feel like, well, there we go. Trump is in charge. Remember, Trump is in charge. He's calling out Israel for doing something that they're not authorized to do. But at the same token, he's being told that they were told. So who's telling the truth here? I don't understand. One thing I know for certain, I do not want Israel making calls and leading this whole project. Because if that's the case, we are doomed. Then the United States of America need to be in charge of this whole operation. President Trump in charge, of course. Not Israel. I'm sorry. But it feels like Israel, if they have a high tolerance for destruction than we do, maybe we will get it done. We will destroy whatever we need to if it's in our way, if it's what we have to do with the greatest military on earth. But if we don't have to, as a military member, we always do what's best for the less amount of casualties, less amount of innocent lives being put in jeopardy. Israel, I feel like they're just an open thing. They just do it. And they don't, and I'm not going to say they don't have morals, but it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough what they do. They don't care really. They're fine with conflict. Now let's go with Tucker Carlson's show where Joe Kent specifically spoke about some intelligence that Israel gives the U.S. and how that might be detrimental and maybe a biased intelligence, to say the least. Maybe why we bombed the little girl's school, trusting their intelligence to begin with. So let's go and take a listen.
Is it possible that could have happened? I mean, have there been strikes, American strikes on targets in the past that you're aware of that have used coordinates supplied by Israel?
Yeah, and we share so much intelligence with Israel.
Right. So, right, of course. So it's entirely possible, but no one has said anything about it, but it's entirely possible that the coordinates were given to us by Israel. And why wouldn't they be? Because once you start doing things like that, it's intentionally or not, it's very hard to get out of it.
And obviously from the way the Israelis have conducted themselves in the Gaza war and other places, they have a much different way of fighting than we do. I mean, America definitely makes mistakes, and we do everything that we can. I can tell you as a guy who fought on the ground, Americans, almost to a fault sometimes, we do everything that we can to prevent the loss of civilian life. I mean, almost to the point where sometimes we risk our own lives deliberately to not kill Americans, to not kill innocent civilians. So, again, this is where being in partnership with a, air quotes, partner that has a very different agenda than you and a stated outcome, but then also just a different standard for how they fight. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous for us.
To be in partnership with a country that has different goals and different standards of behavior on the battlefield.
In different ways and means, yeah. They just have a whole different way of
living.
So
how would you describe the Israeli attitude toward the killing of innocents?
Look, the Israelis are in a hard spot. And as somebody who fought for most of my life, I think I can get into their heads pretty easily. If I was an Israeli, I think I would have the same view. I think I would say, like, well, we're going to fight them at some point anyways. If there's civilians in that area that's militarily important to us, whatever. Like, I have a job to do. I understand that. But it's also important for us to understand our air quotes partners. If we're going to be in a partnership with them, we have to be clear-eyed about that. Just because they speak English and a lot of them went to school over here and we have dual citizens doesn't mean that they're going to target the same way that we do. We have to be clear-eyed about it. And that's what I think is missing. If we're going to do joint operations with the Israelis, they are going to, look, we saw what happened in Gaza. And you can say that's a horrible thing. You can say that's just the way it is. But that is the way the Israelis fight. And so we have to go into that with clear eyes and understand that's how they're going to fight. And now we're going to be viewed as being not just complicit, but we're going to be viewed as being partners in that.
And it's a very, very intricate situation, folks. Very, very difficult. We have different standards. I was in the military, and I know, trained. I wasn't no Green Beret. I wasn't no Ranger. I was just a regular soldier, supportive. I was support. But everybody trains from basic training that we are human beings. That's why this is the greatest country on earth. You know, we tend to look out for innocent people to our detriment at times, as Joe Kent was saying there. And so they have a different standard. And it's a dangerous situation to be in when those are the partners that you're supposed to be fighting with. And we have seen it. I've always been pro-Israel when it came to defending themselves from October 7th. Always. But then you get into the other side to the other extreme where you start bombing and killing children. What happened to that little girl's school? Who gave us that intel? Was that the U.S.? Somebody needs to be held accountable for that. All little girls and everybody in that building decimated by a tomahawk. Only the U.S. has that missile. Who gave us the intel for that? It's important to know.
And again, that's a very dangerous place for us to be because at least our tactical objectives have been pretty clear that we want to take down the ballistic missiles, the nuclear program, the Navy, the Army, et cetera. And those are military targets. But we're in partnership right now with the Israelis, who they're going after some military targets, but they're going after a heck of a lot more that are not military targets.
Oof. Very, very, very tough. Very tough. Last but not least, what do you think about this, by the way? Very, very, very eye-opening. Very, very, very eye-opening. But with that being said, let's go with, who do we got here? We got Glenn Beck. He's speaking about the situation. Let's briefly take a look at what he is saying about this post that, again, President Trump put out yesterday, speaking out, calling out Israel basically on this whole situation. So let's go and see what Glenn has to say.
Okay, I'm going to get into some of the things that happened, but did you see how Donald Trump yesterday came out and he tweeted, "Stop it, Israel. Bad Israel, stop. Israel is being reckless right now. The oil refineries that they were hitting, the oil structure that they're hitting, that's not helpful, Israel." We said that last week. Why are they doing that? As I was thinking this through yesterday, it occurred to me, and I went and I did some homework. Has this ever happened in history before? And yes, it has. And so I want to present a theory because the story being told to you right now is really neat. It's really simple. It has a villain and a victim, a manipulator and a man who is supposedly led. It says one leader whispered into the other lies. And the other leader was duped into it. Oh my gosh, I've got to follow. History almost never works that way. Nations don't drift into wars of this scale because somebody whispered a lie alone. Most times, if not almost all times, it's because pressure has been building, sometimes for years, sometimes for generations, until the moment arrives when someone decides the cost of waiting is greater than the cost of acting. And to understand this, You have to begin where the pressure is the greatest. Where is the pressure greatest in the world when it comes to Iran? Some will say, well, it's Iran because they're being bombed. No, Israel. Israel looks at Iran differently than the West does. The West Iran is a policy problem. Israel sees Iran as a deadline. I wrote a chalkboard today, just divvied it up into three: Iran, Israel, and the U.S. We're big Satan, but who do they promise to kill first? Little Satan, right? Little Satan. That's Israel. We're big Satan. They have said over and over, the Israelis, the Jews will burn in the fires of the Islamic fury. And as they're saying that, they're building nukes. They have 400 to 600 kilograms. That's about 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium. And they're 12ers. You'll really understand this if you've been following it all on the program. This is what the Iranians believe. The Iranian regime has spent decades funding proxies, building capability, repeatedly, openly, consistently saying and acting in the way that follow their words that Israel will cease to exist, that the Jews will die. Now, that can be rhetoric to us here on this side of the planet. But if you're an Israeli and you've got a state just, a California distance away, and that state is the size of 2 Texas, you look at things differently. History has taught them something that Americans have just the luxury of debating. When someone tells you repeatedly they intend to destroy you and kill you, eventually you have to decide whether to believe them or not. So inside Israel, this is not a conversation about strategy. When do we go in? Well, I don't know. Is it going to cost us more for gasoline? That's not. This is a question of survival for the Israelis in their mind. So when a nation believes its survival is at stake, especially a nation that was built so the Jew can survive, it doesn't wait for global consensus. It acts.
Right. And it's a fair point as well. I mean, Israel may be just extremely paranoid to the point where they are simply just making sure that they don't get annihilated, so therefore they have to finish the objective. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Maybe I'm pushing the straw. I'm clutching the straws there. But regardless, in this day and age, they shouldn't be getting away with murdering kids, innocent people. Target who you need to target. Target the extremists, the ones that want you dead. Target them, but not the rest. And that's what differentiates America's military to the rest. We value human life and innocent lives in children. If you have children, if you have loved ones as children, you can never be for this crap. And so, again, I expect answers from this government about that little girl's school that was blown up. I hope it's not, swept under the rug. But regardless, what do you think about Donald Trump calling out Israel? Is that real? Is it not? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.